get right to it. I'm sorry, Alicia. I didn't give you a chance to answer.
Yeah, no, I have not read any of his stuff, but I like it. It's very bold.
And I like the quick hits because it's not, he doesn't get mired down and he keeps them all kind of connected. So to me, there are four things I kind of want to talk about. The first one's kind of like the definition of a tribe. And right out of the gate, my favorite quote of the book is, you can't have a tribe without a leader, and you can't be a leader without a tribe. And that goes hand in hand with tribes make our lives better, and leading a tribe is the best life of all. So as he was laying out his groundwork for what is a tribe, what does a tribe do, what do we benefit from tribes, what do we benefit from leading tribes, does that change how we do business? Does that change how we're looking at our business?
So honestly, while I was kind of reading this, and some of the stuff you were just kind of pointing out, it almost and I don't want to get too far ahead. So it almost like tribes in itself is almost like a streamlined way of doing market research. So like when I think about businesses, especially like starting businesses, I think about breaking down the actual business plan. And you always start with like your market research.
Right.
And it's like, how powerful is it to have a tribe that you're already leading? Because then when you go to make those decisions, it's almost like so easy. It's like when you get into marketing, it's like, well, who's your target market?
Right.
Who's your audience? It's like, well, why don't you just start with your tribe?
Right.
But the tribe's not gonna come together if someone's not leading it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I like that he acknowledged that things are changing, even like in terms of influencers. So, when with the invention of the internet, almost normal people became influencers, but even that as we know it, like people who are just wildly popular who are plugging, say, Old Navy jeans or whatever, even that's not working anymore, that it's become even more specific. So I
Right.
found that very, very interesting. And in terms of real estate, I like that approach of like we're not all the same. And so I can definitely do things my way, do my own thing, and there's still a market for me as long as I'm leading. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. It's encouraging.
To me, because he's talked about this in other interviews where he talks about, like, for many years in his career, he was looking to build an audience and build an audience. And he's come out and said, look, I've got my tribe. So everything that I do from this point forward is not for everybody. And that's the cool thing about tribes, is that you don't have to do everything for everybody. You know what I mean? What we do is for our people. And if we do it authentically and do it well, I mean, we'll eat forever. Because nothing should be for everybody. So,
and just imagine like how much more motivation that gives you, to just do good work and just serve.
right. So as we go down the rabbit hole and keep going with him, he talked about Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if either of you ever listened to him or know of him, another marketing guy. He was the YouTube guy for Wine Library. He was really one of the first big YouTube guys and saw the opportunity. And he talked about the difference because he really created a following with his tribe, but he wasn't pulling them or pushing them. He was leading them. And that goes hand in hand with the other idea that leadership, and we talked about this in the book about the seven.
Oh, 7 Habits of Highly Effective. Yep.
Leadership is not management. So that idea comes and rears its head back again. And the other thing regarding that leadership is leaders don't have to make things, they just need to make a ruckus. And that's one of Seth Godin's favorite things. So think about all that. In this vein, what is the difference between leadership and management? like he's talking about within the tribe. Like, I mean, we can manage our tribe and tell our tribe what to do, but they're not going to do it.
So one quote that I think is appropriate for that question that I actually wrote down is a quote that I loved. So learning the difference between telling people what to do versus enticing a movement. It's like your management's going to tell people what to do based on the movement that you've enticed. And so that right there is going to drive the difference between leadership and management. It's like leadership, you're in the tribe, you're enticing the movement. You've created the movement. You've kind of got to, you've got to build it, structure it, and give people a reason to move it for you, whereas for management, you're just telling folks you're doing this, but there's almost like no why to
it. Right.
So I thought of Davin's book, Work That System, with all of that. The fact that he had a lot of people approach him and say like, oh, you're doing very well now. Like you got really lucky in the people that you hired. And the point is that it's not luck. It's that he found people who were like-minded, who believed in what he wanted for the company, and then empowered them to work toward that. And so they were all working toward the same thing. And so that reminded that, for me, that was a repeated theme of the way you hire and the mindset, and just kind of turning people loose to try to achieve that and encourage them instead of dictate.
Right. The one thing I was reminded too, but from 7 Habits was, and I'm paraphrasing, but I think it was like, you can have leadership without management, but you can't have management without leadership. I mean, if you don't have leadership, the management is just a bunch of people going wah 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 wah. Right. So yeah, so it's a cool riff coming from Seth talking about the leadership thing. So, this part that I loved. Is she back yet? No.
She said, "This is a mom conversation. It's a code."
That's fine.
I don't know.
Okay. Looks like a lot of fun though. We're gonna like watching this video back and watching her and her faces, trying to guess what, because we all know the Laura Lerman face. Hey bud, what's up? All right, so Ruth. All right, I'm gonna go back in my office. I'm gonna go back in my office. Everybody's home. I'm gonna go back in my office. It's a little quieter.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody says hi. It's one of those crazy days. All right, so let's do it this way. True fans demand generosity and bravery. It is worth a whole bunch more to turn a casual fan into a true fan than to create a casual fan. I love that. Because we can get a bunch of casual fans. I think I have that. I have like in real estate, you have your sphere or your PCSOI, so to speak, as we call it, past client sphere of influence. So your PCSOI can be, you want it to be, let's say, for argument's sake, 300 people, let's just say. Those are people who know you, love you, trust you, whatever. But those are not true fans, ride or die kind of fans. I have some people that I work with that would just run through a wall for me if I asked them to. And it's not 300. It may only be 25 or whatever, but those are the true fans. And so his argument is, it is worth a whole hell of a lot more effort to take one of your casual 300 and turn them into one of your crazy people than to go find somebody else. How does that resonate with like what y'all do and what y'all are thinking? And Laura is back.
I am here.
Were you dealing with one of your raving fans, Laura?
No. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. We'll talk about that when we're not recording.
Oh, come on.
That's a good conversation.
I like that. That's a whole new YouTube video, folks. All right. True fans versus casual fans. Sorry, David, I stepped on your feet.
Oh, so what I was gonna say with a true fan, I feel like it kind of comes down to like recently I went and did interviewing, and so you can kind of tell who's showing up for the interview because they want a job and who's showing up for the interview because they were interested in your company. And so it's just like, if you think about it from that standpoint, your fans are going to give you so much better, consistent work as opposed to the people that are just looking for work or the people that are just looking for something to do. It's like, it's just a different quality of work, and you get a different quality of like feedback. You get a different, because they actually care, as opposed to I mean, like working with volunteers, that may not be fully into it. They may show up almost to kind of check off the box, as opposed to a fan's going to show up for you. So that's kind of what I think.
I don't remember. I didn't hear the whole question.
All right, so part of what he was talking about.
An opinion right now.
You're fine. You're handling one of your people. He was talking about true fans versus casual fans. He was talking about how it's probably worth more effort for us to turn a casual fan to a true fan. Like I was saying, in our sphere, in our PCSOI, I have like 425 people in my sphere. Do I have 425 people that would run through a wall right now? No, I don't. It's probably closer to like maybe 50, maybe.
Right.
But he was saying it's worth more of our effort to create another one of those 50 out of the 425 than to add somebody to the 425. That's worth much more effort on our part.
Well, I totally agree. And so like I kind of am in between two buyers right now. Like I have one buyer who's a true fan. She worked for me years ago. She was super young. I coached her a little bit in life. She enjoyed working for me and my mom. She made some younger decisions that we make at 19, 20. She decided to kind of run away and go get married and have kids, and everybody was like, what are you doing? Like your whole life's ahead of you. Like where's college, where's planning, whatever. But she's back here in Georgia, and I talked to her the other day kind of out of the blue, and she's excited to buy. As a matter of fact, she just talked to my lender today. She talked to Andrea. She's looking to use the same loan Lexi used.
Hey.
When I talk to her, it's almost embarrassing to be on the phone because she's such, like, she raves. I mean, just like everything I do is perfect. Like I literally could do no wrong in her eyes. I know I can. I mean, that's silly to, to have that perspective, but to listen to her talk. And then it's like the very next phone call is somebody else who it's not two buyers. I'm sorry. This person's is listing a house, and they're definitely a fan. Every time I call, we've never met face to face, but every time I call, they're definitely like, oh yes, send me your contact person. They called David, they called Jeffrey, they called, all my people. They had an inspection done in their home, and they're doing all the inspection stuff before they list and whatever. But I know that even though I've provided value, even though they've committed to interviewing me in a couple weeks, probably about 2 more weeks, when they're all done with this, and there's definitely fan status, right? They like me. They want me to call. They want me to check in. They've told me to drive by their house, check out their neighborhood. I don't have that listing, and I could still lose that listing today. And so I was thinking about this morning when I saw Kaylee had, hearted a little house. I called her, hey, what are you doing? And she'd go, I haven't talked to the lender yet. I'm trying to get my tax and stuff in order. And I was thinking, because Barbara happened to be my very next phone call. I was like, God, can't everybody just be a Kaylee? Because having those fans, you never lose them, right? It's a lot less effort on my part. And as your fan base grows, the effort has to change. You can't have 1,000 true fans, right? I can't be a rock star and have 1,000 true fans and have a conversation with each of them every day. So it's that weird, how do you grow? How do you change people into true fans? And then how do you continue to add value so that they stay true fans?
Right.
And so that's kind of where I am with my SOI, I've got about 50 potential clients in my pipeline right now. That's just, how do I convert all of those humans like that? Like
Just do your nose and then they show up. Bam.
I wish. I would be
Leisha.
Yeah, so my personality is that I would rather have true fans than many passive fans. I myself am like that. I'm a true fan of a few, and I don't usually participate in being a casual fan of things. So I don't know, it made me start thinking like I may never be a huge agent or a team, just in that sense. But it got me thinking about being bold. What does that mean? So, like, and all political stuff aside, but Greta Thunberg has true fans, so much so that they've each created a movement in their own country, kind of under her, just under her. And so I'm not sure it'll spell it out in the book, but it's got me thinking like, what does that look like as a real estate agent, being a bold leader? How do you look different? How do you do that? I haven't figured that out yet, but that's what I'm chewing on.
But very good way of you jumped right into my final question. And as we're wrapping up this first quarter, and again, it's weird because there's like the chapters are like 1 minute or 2 minutes. So it's just boom, 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 boom. It's just Seth just blasting, and which I love. I mean, I could listen to Seth, like I could just like all day. I mean, and it wouldn't get old. That's me. His voice is a little out there. Anyway, one of the last things he talks about though, what's the difference between a tribe and a movement? And you just said the word movement, and you started to unpack the difference between the two, or how one leads to the other, how you can't have one without the other. So, and I know that I've already started listening to the next quarter of the book, and they talks about like let's say you have a Twitter meetup, right? You go on Twitter and say you got 5 million people or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to meet at Bob's Coffee House in 10 minutes. We're going to have a meetup. And all of a sudden, like 500 people show up. And it's like, that didn't take 5 minutes to do. That took 5 years to do. It just took 5 minutes for everybody to show up at that particular, but it took 5 years. But that's a difference between a movement and just having a tribe. You can have a tribe, but you got to get them in motion and doing stuff. So what does that mean for y'all? Like thinking about what can I change in my business? What can I change in how I approach things to turn my people into more of a movement, get them emotionally rolling versus just, they love me and they're just going to love me.
So actually for me, that first element that he talks about, Senator Bill Bradley, so a narrative that shows who you are and the future you're trying to build. Honestly, for me, that's probably one of the first things I could really benefit from in my business. Just so I think I understand it pretty well, but communicating that to my potential tribe.
Well,
Right.
And for me, like in the beginning of the book, and y'all may have already talked about this when I was on my call, but he defines the definition between a leader and a manager. And I think that sometimes when I have a client or a connection or a whatever, that I tend to manage, right? Because I have such a high level of expectation for, last night we were forming the wrestling board because the wrestling doesn't have a board, and the coach thought I could be all things the board, and I can't. Like, that's just not realistic. And so I actually found myself trying to be more quiet and listen and not manage the people that were in my home. and allow them to have input and say and this and that, and let them kind of bite off the pieces of that board that they wanted to. So I would say for me, it's really making sure that when I'm working with someone, whether they're a client or not, making sure that, and I know this, I live and breathe leadership over management, right? That's what Scouts is all about. And it's been like my life for the last 10 years. But I think this book kind of brings that all back home, that if you really want a tribe and you want that tribe to create a movement, that tribe is looking for a leader. That tribe is not looking for somebody to manage the activities, but more guide them down a path. And as a realtor, right, my job is to guide humans down a path that has to do with the market here in Atlanta. And so I think I could do more leadership, which is weird because my job really is to manage a contract. So I think it'll be a weird shift in trying to kind of figure that out. But it's funny because the clients that I do figure it out with, like, they sing my praises. I mean, I would say 80% of my SOI is not going anywhere. But I don't know that I've been as good with new clients as I was with clients 8 years ago when I first started, because time management is different, systems are different, things are different. So for me, it's really honing in on that leadership and how to have those conversations and create those environments to create that movement within my SOIPC, because I don't want them thinking about any other agent on the face of the earth but me.
I already admitted I didn't have an answer yet.
But that's part of the thing, is like you see the difference between the two, right?
Right.
So it becomes, that's our struggle, like, I mean, that's my thing. That's the thing I struggle with, is I have these people that would bleed for me or run through a wall for me or whatever. And it's like, how do I keep them engaged? How do I keep them moving? How do I keep them, we try and do all these different sphere events and whatever, but I want to be, real estate guy calling all the time about real estate or making it look like, but at the same time, like, what can I do? So I'm really focusing on doing the networking thing, I've got this roofer that can help with this. I got this plumber that can help with that. I'm always checking on how can I help you, but that's the struggle, is to get them from being energized. Because if we don't figure out a way to turn it into a movement, they'll go from being true fans back to casual fans, which stinks, because if we spend all that effort getting them to true fans, and there you go. So I think that's probably all that I wanted to cover in the first quarter of the book. Laura, since you were kind of off for the first 15, 20 minutes, were there any thoughts about like the first part of the book and thoughts of the book? Or?
If that man calls a tweet a twit again, I might throw my phone out of the window. Other than that, no. I almost died when I heard it. I was like, he just called that a twit.
You call it a twit.
You would think his editors would have corrected that.
Right.
So, but no, I think it's a good book, and I think it brings up a lot of good points. And I think that his definition of what can make someone actually want to follow you is a relevant and understandable definition. And so for that perspective, I think there's a lot in it. Now, I will say, much like Alicia on Davin's book, maybe, I'm struggling a little bit to kind of get into it, because I feel like a lot of it is create a tribe, create a tribe, create a tribe. Well, how the fuck do I create it? Right? I feel like he's not giving a lot of detail. So I guess I'm kind of hoping maybe on the back end, as we read over the next 3 or 4 weeks, I don't know how you've got it broken down, but as we read over the next little bit of time, that we come into a little bit more of explanations on how to do things. Because I think every once in a while he gives some really good nuggets. Like his definition between a leader and a manager is fabulous. And how people look at them is fabulous. So I'm hoping for a little bit more how to than defining the situations. But I definitely think it's a good book. And I'm excited to kind of see what is next, because I think these kind of nuggets are nuggets that this is the difference, right? Between two entrepreneurs, who takes off, who doesn't take off. Well, they both do the job well, but why does this guy, what they're doing is the same. But why does this guy take off faster or, you know, ahead of this person, whether this person gets up or not? But I think it's stuff like this, right? I think these are the small details that matter in business.
And that's a good tease for, because I started listening to the next quarter, and part of what he starts talking about is the importance of like being out there, being bold, and like we're almost like we are asking for permission to be bold and to do something crazy. Like if,
I
like,
don't need permission to be crazy.
yeah, I know you're not, okay, but I think the rest of us, you know, who don't have like our score of our D is like 150%. You know, the rest of us are waiting for their invitation, and his part of his thing is you're not waiting for an invitation. Go be bold. Go do it.
Right.
There's your invitation. And the ones who do are the ones that succeed. Those are the ones that climb the ladder. And we kind of get into that as part of the tribal leadership. So let's listen to, and looking at it, I think because he's as such quick hits, there's not really like there's a theme, but there's not like chapter 1, chapter.
Right.
So let's listen up to, because this is just halfway through the book, the balloon factory and the unicorn. That's like the halfway mark.
To which one? I'm sorry, my phone started yelling at me.
Balloon factory and the unicorn. We'll kind of cut off at, the last one we'll read is all you need to know is 2 things. That's all you need to know is 2 things. And there you have it.
Hold on, I don't have it yet. I can't find it. I'm looking for all I need to know is 2 things, right?
Yeah, it's about it, I guess. Halfway.
Got it. Yep, nope, I got it. So cool. You want us to stop there, not at the balloon factory?
I mean, I'm just for our purposes, that's where I'm gonna start or finish our, like all my notes will go through there.
Through all you need to know is 2 things.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then we'll have our 3 or 4 bullet points that we'll riff on.
Got it. So we have 3 more weeks of this book is kind of your assumption? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. That works for me. Thank you guys for being
flexible.
Patient.